I am super excited to be unboxing some succulents from Terry at the Little Succulent Shop. I bought a few things from her during a live sale that she was doing on Palmstreet, and I know what I bought, but I'm really excited to see it in person. So first up, we just have a heat pack so that everything stays happy, even though it's winter. Ooh, this is pokey. Oh yes. This one is super cool. When I pot it, I think I'm gonna pull all of these little pups apart. You can see how they really bend downward. Makes it a little bit tricky to pot them up in a grouping like this, although that is how they came. It's really fascinating to me though, the difference between this main plant and these others on the side. These seem like they were getting plenty of water and just the right amount of light. This one might've been getting a lot more light and maybe a little less water at some point, but it is actually very well watered. The leaves are super firm, and overall, this is very healthy. Ooh. These are both succulents that I would consider kind of high maintenance and finicky. They are not ones that I would typically have bought with the intent to keep them a super long time. However, they're kind of a splurge, and so I'm just gonna see how long they last in my care. So this is Echeveria Pink Raindrops, and this one is Echeveria Pinky Trumpet. You can see this one has quite a few dried up leaves. I think this one has been pretty stressed, and from when I saw it before she packaged it, it seemed like it had been getting plenty of sun and was a little on the dehydrated side, but it's still in good shape. With the rest of these plants, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few duplicates. Then again, maybe they're just all packaged in the same little wrapping. Aha! Yes, so here's another one of those. This one is really heavy. Look how many babies there are in there, but look how cool they are. I love the kind of orange coloring they get when they're stressed. I'm really excited just to have a bunch of babies. And here's some more of those. Part of the appeal to me of these was the number of babies on them. So that is why I got more than one pot, so I can have a lot of these little guys. Gasterias and Haworthias tend to be some of the best growers for me. They're also great for new succulent growers because they are very, very low maintenance. They also don't need as much light as some of the more colorful succulents like Echeveria or Pachyphytums. So these are great starter plants, and I love gifting these or selling these to people who are getting into succulents for their first time. Whoa. All right, this one is the biggest of them all. Aha, I think I know why. Well, just rip this off. This is insane. Look at that. This is a Haworthia that I actually have quite a few of, but it has been such a good grower for me that I could not pass up this pot when I saw it. So many babies, but also some big plants too. So I'm really excited to get this one kind of broken apart and planted up in a bunch of individual pots. This one is very lightweight and pokey. Ah, yes. Another one of these. These are just so cool. They look like little starfish. Some more Gasterias. These just have a very different texture than some of the other Gasterias I've grown. They're actually a lot smoother, but I still just love their little clusters and thick leaves. And then this one is a Haworthia. If you haven't caught on already, I picked a lot of these just because there were tons of babies, and I'm excited to kind of grow a bunch of these to both sell at some local markets and to give to friends. Aww, look at that itty bitty Echeveria. So cute. So here we have a really nice translucent Haworthia. And then these are two Haworthiopsis. I love this stressed reddish orange color. Two more to go. This one is quite large. Oh yes. Some variegated zebra plant. If you've seen very many zebra plant, you'll know that they're typically a pretty like rich green color. This is more of a lime green color because it has some variegation to it. I love how these look, and because they're variegated, they tend to be able to go longer without water, and they don't need quite as much light. And last but not least, oh, I think I saw what this one is. More Gasteria. These plants look amazing, and it was super fun to participate in the live sale with Terry. She gets to go to some pretty amazing nurseries and finds a lot of really unique and unusual plants. I'll put a link in the comments and in the description to her Palmstreet shop. She goes live on there a couple times a week. You can also follow her on Instagram to see some previews of what might be coming up in her live sales. I am a very happy plant shopper right here. I'm going to go ahead and leave some of these Gasterias and the Haworthias for a little bit. They don't need to be repotted right away. However, I do need to repot the 3 Echeveria. They will survive and acclimate to my climate a lot better once they are in soil. I'm going to pot them up in some very well-draining pots in a very gritty soil mix and see how things go. First up, she actually gave me this little itty bitty Echeveria, and I have this little 1-inch snappy pot from a few years ago that I am going to plant it into. It's probably a little bit big for that pot, but I don't have anything in between right now, so that's what we're gonna do. Since this succulent covers the edges of this pot, so I can't really just water the soil, I will actually bottom water this. So I'll let it sit in a pot of water that's about as high as the planter, and then just let it sit for a minute or two until the water has risen all the way to the top. That way I know it has gotten soaked all the way through. Next up, we have the pink raindrops. Now, typically this plant is a little bit more of a bluish purple, but this variety, as you can see, is very, very pink, and hopefully we'll be able to keep it that way under the intense grow lights. It has a pretty good stem and some roots, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it into soil till about here. So part of that stem will be buried, but because it'll be in a well-draining soil, it shouldn't cause any problems for the plant. I'm also putting it in a planter that has a lot of drainage in the bottom, so that way there's not any areas that are gonna pool or catch water or stay wet for too long. I'm also potting this in a fresh new batch of gritty mix. Sometimes I will recycle old soil for a variety of plants, especially if they're really tough, like my Haworthia and Gasteria. These, however, I don't find to be very tough or forgiving, so they are going in fresh, clean soil. And then last up, we have Pinky Trumpet. Now it does have a few little dried up spots on some of these leaves. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull those off just so it looks a little bit fresher. So some of these, the dried spots just pull right off, but others didn't really, so I'm just gonna chop them off. You can just leave them on, but aesthetically, I feel like it'll look nicer. And then I'll have a better idea of what is surviving or declining under my care versus how it started. These tend to get the most color when they are dehydrated and getting a lot of sun. That's also why when they're really hot pink instead of this more blue or purple color, you'll see a lot more dead leaves around the side because the plant is stressed and it's using up water from those outer leaves in order to keep the plant alive and growing. This doesn't have a ton of roots on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the soil and we'll just bury it until about here. Again, I'm putting it in a pot that has a lot of drainage and in some fresh gritty mix. There it is, all potted up. I'm gonna let all 3 of these stay dry for another day or 2, and then I'm gonna soak the soil completely. So I'll actually bottom water all of them and let them sit in that water maybe for 5 to 10 minutes just to make sure it's getting soaked all the way through to the center. And then they're gonna go a very long time without water because these tend to be very prone to rot. I'm really looking forward to having these more colorful, unique varieties in my collection, and I'm hopeful that they survive better than the last set I had.